It was, 29 years ago today that the Duke Blue Devils won their first national championship under head coach Mike Krzyzewski. And for more on that, we're delighted to be joined by the 5-time national champion, 12-time Final Four appearances, 3-time Naismith Coach of the Year, and 3-time Olympic gold medalist as a head coach, none other than Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski. Mike, thanks for being with us. Happy anniversary of that first national championship over Kansas. Yeah. I just out of curiosity, for you, with all the success that you've had, they always say the first one is the sweetest. Is that still hold true for you?
They're all pretty sweet. But we had gone to 4 Final Fours before that in like a 5-year period, and came close but didn't win. So, after we beat Vegas and that historic game in the semis,
right,
we had to play Roy Williams' team in Kansas, and our team had to get over that big win to play a terrific Kansas team. So it was defeating not just Kansas, but defeating the past, what I call getting on to the next play, and our team was able to do that. And we were fortunate and won our first one.
Yeah, for those that may not remember how good that UNLV team was, that you guys lost to in the finals the year before, and basically everybody came back. That was the shocker, right? And from a coaching perspective, to go from that game and then take on a really talented Kansas team, that had to be really, really hard for you.
Yeah, well, we were a much better team. Well, we were a better team in '91 because we had a Grant Hill. And
that worked.
That works. I was a better coach right away, but his defense on Stacey Augmon in the semis, and then he guarded the best player, Jamison, from the top scorer for Kansas, and he held both of those guys down. And but the biggest thing was the elation of stopping UNLV's 45-game winning streak and winning. Our fans, they were nuts. And our kids were nuts because I'm not sure any of our fans expected us to win. And when we did, it was almost like we already won something. When people see that game, they think that's the championship game. And a lot of times you see these great games in the NCAA tournament. It's not the championship game. It's the game that you had to win in order to win the championship. And it's the epitome of what I've tried to teach our guys over the last 4 decades, and that it's to get on to the next play. You can't do anything about the last play, but you can certainly do something about the next play.
I think that's one of the greatest examples of that is 1980 USA beating Russia. That wasn't the gold game. That was just to get to the next round to win the gold. Again, we're talking to Coach K. 1991, April 1st. Duke beats Kansas 72-65. You mentioned Grant Hill on Alonzo Jamison in that game. Jamison went 1 of 10, just 2 points, while Leitner had 18 points. Bobby Hurley, 12 points. Grant Hill, 10. Bill McCaffrey, 16 points off the bench. I guess, again, going back into being the first, because, you are so renowned, 5 national champions. Your resume is ridiculous, much in the line of like a Bill Belichick. So many Super Bowls that you think the winning comes natural. But for him, there was that first one, and you that first one. So what was the difference of the first one and, say, the 5th one or the 4th one, and just that feeling?
Well, I think it's the first time you overcome completely rationalization. You have complete focus, and like getting into the Final Four those previous times. The Final Four is like Mecca for a college coach or a college player. The fact that you're there, especially on that Saturday afternoon when there are 4 champions under one roof. It's the best day in basketball at any level, because you have 4 champions. And when you get there, there's a little bit of like, you're happy, you're proud. And what I tried to do after we lost to Vegas the year before in the championship, we got killed. We got beat by 30 points, and is to take a look at myself and what I was doing and make sure that I was in, if I ever got to that moment again, that I would have complete focus. And the experience of having gone through 4 Final Fours helped me, prepare my team. And obviously, I had a great team. You don't, as a coach, I don't care how much you prepare. There's a big difference if you have Leitner, Hurley, and Grant Hill on the floor. But still, great teams lose, and this great team won as a result of getting on and putting it all together for that day. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but in the Vegas game, at the end of the game, everyone was jumping around, and I was just telling everybody, settle down. And because, you go to the Final Four to win 2 games. You don't go to the Final Four to be in the Final Four. And you have to look at each game as a championship game. And we've been a part of 21 Final Four games and overall. And that's the epitome. I mean, I've been very, very fortunate that my teams have afforded me the opportunity to be in that moment.
And in all those moments, whether it's the championships at the college level, the gold medals, you mentioned great teams do lose, but they also have great players, like you mentioned. As you've gone through winning all of those championships on all those different levels, has there been one consistent quality about the teams that do go on to that championship level where now, all right, if I've got this quality in my team, we can win a championship?
I think, obviously the unity, the talent, there are a bunch of factors, but I think a key factor is on-court leadership. In other words, at the moment it's happening, to have a player or players who can orchestrate, not just a point guard, but to have players who understand the moment, the game situation. They understand the game in a cerebral manner, and along with their talent, and whether it be Leitner, especially Leitner and Hurley in those first 2, Abadier in another one, Nolan Smith and John Shire in 2010, Quinn Cook and Tyus Jones in 2015. Obviously, the Olympic teams. If you have LeBron and Kobe were just brilliant, on and off the court. But on the court, when you have that level of intelligence and you also have that amazing level of talent, then beautiful things can happen. So in each one of the championships, including we won a couple world championships where Chauncey Billups did that in 2010 in Istanbul for us, and guys on the court leadership and where they make a decision that you could not make from the bench because you don't have the time to do it. It's the game's going on, and those guys that's one of the beautiful things that I've had a chance to experience as a coach, is a player being able to make his team be one at that moment.
Mike Krzyzewski with us, talking about the championship teams he's had in the past, celebrating the 29th anniversary of the first of his 5 national championships. But this is the week, Coach K, where we would have the greatest weekend in college basketball. Final 4 games on Saturday and the national championship on Monday. Obviously, because of the current pandemic, we don't have that. And Duke was really a driving force behind that. Before the NCAA pulled the plug on the tournament, Duke said, we are not going to be playing in this tournament. How did you, as a university, get to that decision before the NCAA actually canceled the tournament?
Well, the main thing we said right away, we're not going to play in the ACC tournament, and that our president put out that there would be no spring sports, and that we would look at, for the foreseeable future. In other words, there's no way we were going to play in the tournament the next week. But I think if there was some postponement or whatever, we would reevaluate that situation. And basically, when we left, our students were on spring break. Our school was not going to allow students to come back, and for their safety and the safety of others. And really, it seemed so crazy that you could not want your students back and not have school, but still send students out into an arena and out on the road to play basketball. it wasn't right. And I'm glad that everyone, obviously it was a great decision by everyone, but I thought our school was one of the schools. It's not the only school that came to that decision. I think it helped others move on a little bit quicker to doing it.
Coach, what was that first conversation like with the team when you guys knew it was over, when the season was going to be done?
Well, the very first thing was, I think the moment in time is Gobert being tested positive on that Wednesday night. And at that time, I was in my room and getting ready to go to sleep, and I said, that's it. The NBA, NCAA, that's it. I mean, it's not going to happen. As a player, you're going to feel vulnerable now, and we should feel vulnerable for the player and everyone in under our command. And that next morning when I spoke to my team, you could see, we were going to play at 2:30 that afternoon. You could see there was a pall over, like they were a different group, and they were afraid. And we talked about it. We talked to our president. We talked to our AD, and our president said, we're not going to do this for all sports, and then eventually Commissioner Swafford made that decision with our ADs and presidents for the ACC. Our guys, I think it didn't set in at that moment that there would be, even though they said we were not going to allow them to play, that there was not going to be an NCAA tournament. It took a while, I think for everybody to come to the realization that that wasn't going to happen. That's why people were picking out, like, can we postpone it? Can we do it here? Can we do it that way? Because it's such a big thing, and for these kids, it's their moment in time. And what we did is we got back to campus and took care of some things, and we're trying to figure out how to take care of them. And when we found out that they had to leave campus on that Sunday, on Saturday, we had a team dinner and with the staff, and created a One Shining Moment video, and had a loop of highlights going on during the dinner, and kind of celebrated it like we had won. I'm sure there are a lot of teams that eventually did that, and because now you can all think that you're going to win. But I loved our team. This is one of the closest teams we've had, and we were, we would have a chance, and that chance for a number of teams and players was taken away, and what we try to do now, I think it's important to understand that they need closure, and that it's not going to just be that you have that dinner and play one shining moment and there's closure. So I've tried to stay in touch with them and talk to them about the season and what they did, and we send them clips about what they did, and our team is still on a group chat, where they talk and play video games and stuff like that, because they didn't want it to be over.
Mike Krzyzewski with us, Duke men's head basketball coach on Golic and Wingo. And, Coach, to that end, the NCAA came out with a ruling the other day saying that spring athletes would be given another year of eligibility if they were affected, as most of those sports were canceled. As you mentioned, the NCAA tournament is such a different animal. We know most of the regular season has been played, but no conference tournament and no NCAA tournament for the athletes in men's and women's basketball and the other winter sports. How did you feel about winter sports not being included in that extra year of eligibility?
Yeah, overall, I think it's a wise decision, because at least our kids had a chance to play the season, and for well over 50% of the teams in the country, well over, I don't know the exact percentage, their season was over. And I think it was the right decision. It's tough that these kids didn't get a chance to do that, but I think we could move on a lot better than a spring sport, and that's why I felt that what they did for the spring sports was so appropriate, and hopefully the schools will be able to financially support that. I mean, and it'll be interesting to see how many kids do come back, because you move on. If you're a senior, you move on. Now it's a lot more difficult to move on in the environment that we're in because it's unsettled. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen in June or August, and so jobs and things like that or internships or whatever, graduate schools that these seniors might have been going to, those opportunities might not be afforded to them at this point. So the fact that they could come back, I think, was really the only decision the NCAA could make. And again, hopefully the schools will be able to financially support them coming back.
Coach, you have the largest looking at what's going on today, you have the largest social media following of any college program, football or basketball, something I'm sure you saw coming in 1975 when you were the first time you're a head coach at Army. But here we are. So tell everybody how you're using that platform to really help and recognize the healthcare workers.
Yeah, our president, Vince Price, and the head of our medical center, Gene Washington, asked me to do a video for our healthcare providers and also another one for our students. And the one for the healthcare providers came across so well that it got traction from different parts of the hospital, actually from different parts of the country. And so we got together with our social media team and tried to use our platform to come out daily with encouraging things, celebrating our healthcare workers, bringing out, to bring happiness, to bring joy, to bring recognition, and it's gone really well. I mean, in fact, right after I talked to you guys, I'm going to be on the phone with one of the guys who comes to our fantasy camp. He's a CEO and runs 4 hospitals down in Mississippi to talk about, what he's doing leadership-wise and just stuff like that. I mean, the sports brings joy, and also sports is about teamwork. And right now, our healthcare providers are really. And I went to West Point. I was in the military. I was never in combat, and our healthcare providers are in combat right now, and they need. They weren't trained to be in combat. They were trained to care and dedicated their lives to the care of others. But being in this unusual situation is very difficult for people. It's hard to even explain what they're going through. And we as a country need to look at those people first and not get concerned about how do we help them, because they're the ones they're right there. They're on the front lines. And so the little bit that we do is in appreciation and in support of the people here at Duke and in certain areas of the country.
No question about that, and they absolutely deserve our admiration and our respect, and anything we can do to help them keep going, because we need them to be out there doing the things they're doing. Coach K, we appreciate your time this morning. We appreciate what you're doing for the first responders, and quite frankly, all the things you and Duke University Hospital does with us for the V Foundation as well. So we appreciate all those things.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, Coach K. And again, happy anniversary, the first
Thank
of 5.
you. Thanks,
Coach.
Don't tell my wife that's an anniversary.
No.
Happy celebration of something that happened many years ago on this same date. Thanks,
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. All right.
It's just amazing. 5 championships, 12 Final Fours, 3-time College Coach of the Year. I mean, his resume is unreal.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.